God is protecting you from a bad relationship. God promises to save us in scriptures. Some signs he is protecting you from a bad relationship might be something like the feeling that the person on your side is not the one for you, or an intuition that this person is not good for your life. But sometimes it can be hard to tell if they are really bad. Sometimes relationships stay tough even when we think they should be getting better. To find out how God will save you, turn to some of his signs. It's not something that most people think about, having a bad relationship. We go into them hoping and wanting to see the good in them, or want to believe they contain this hidden treasure that we can find if we look hard enough. But when things start deteriorating, it is fun to imagine ways you may have been able to avoid entering this troubled scenario altogether. However, sometimes they seem so inevitable that there seems nothing you can do to escape them. God does not want you to be in a bad relationship. No matter how it started, most relationships go through their ups and downs. Sometimes we find ourselves in tough times, but do we really have to stay in an unhealthy one? No. In fact, God may be trying to protect you from a bad relationship by giving you signs that it is not right. Remember, God always has a plan for you and will never allow you to experience anything you don't want. In fact, he might be guiding you away from a bad relationship to protect you. A bad relationship is not right for you. Period. You are not compatible with this person, and they do not respect or appreciate you. There are many things that can lead to a bad relationship. Maybe you and your partner have different expectations of each other, or you find it hard to communicate. Whatever the reason, it's important to remember that God doesn't want you in a bad relationship. He wants you to be safe and happy. Why God does not want you to be in a bad relationship? God has a specific plan for your life, and he will not allow you to be in a bad relationship. There are many reasons why God would want you to stay away from a bad relationship, and here are 5 of the most important. The first one is because bad relationships can cause great harm to both parties involved. Both people in a bad relationship often end up feeling resentful, angry, and hurt. This can lead to problems at home, at work, and in your social life. Your relationship with God is a reflection of your relationship with other people. If you are in a bad relationship, your relationship with God will be affected too. Here are some signs that God is protecting you from a bad relationship. Secondly, a bad relationship is never based on true love. In a good relationship, each person respects the other's opinions and values. A bad relationship, on the other hand, is typically based on domination, possession, or gratifying personal desires instead of love. This type of love is unstable and cannot last. God is always working in our lives to protect us from bad relationships. We need to trust him and follow his guidance in order to find lasting love and happiness. If we allow God to work in our lives, he can help us avoid getting caught up in a bad relationship. One reason why a bad relationship is never based on true love is because love involves giving without expecting anything in return. When one person constantly takes, withholds, and criticizes, it creates an imbalance in the relationship that cannot stand up to the test of time. God protects us from bad relationships because they lead to heartache, loneliness, and disappointment. If you are feeling upset or lonely in your relationship, it may be time to take a step back and reassess your situation. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one, which is prayer, texting friends, or talking to a professional. When we walk away from a relationship that isn't good for us, we are allowing God to work his heart out through us. So do not be ashamed of yourselves, rather be proud of what you are because God has made you what you are. When we humble ourselves and admit our weaknesses instead of trying to make everything perfect, God can do great things in our lives. God is protecting you from a bad relationship. First, this means that we must avoid getting involved with people who are unavailable or irresponsible. Second, it means that we must never let a harmful or destructive relationship control our lives. Good relationships are founded on compromise and respect, but a bad relationship often relies on dominance and control. A bad relationship is never based on true love. In a good relationship, each person respects the other's opinions and values. A bad relationship, on the other hand, is typically based on domination, possession, or gratifying personal desires instead of love. This type of love is unstable and cannot last. Therefore, if you are in a situation where your partner does not share your same values or interests, it may be time to move on. God is protecting you from a bad relationship and will help you find a more suitable one. Thirdly, another reason why God is protecting you from a bad relationship is because a bad relationship is insecure and full of fear. In a good relationship, both people know their roles in the relationship and have trust in each other. A bad relationship is filled with secrets, accusations, and mistrust. This creates anxiety and makes it difficult for either person to open up honestly with the other. God is always protecting you from a bad relationship. He brings comfort, reassurance, and security in good relationships. And by understanding your role in a good relationship, you can allow God to help you find comfort and assurance in His plans for your life. God is always working to protect you from a bad relationship. When you are in a good relationship, both people understand their place in the relationship and trust each other. This allows for communication and honest interaction, which makes it easier to stay safe and connected. If you are in a bad relationship, remember that God is with you and will help protect you from harm. Talk to Him about your situation and ask for His guidance. He will help guide you away from a bad relationship and towards a better one. Also, a bad relationship destroys hope and optimism. A good relationship builds hope and optimism. It's easier to walk the path of darkness with someone waiting at the other side, but in a good relationship, forgiveness is possible, and hope is allowed to bloom once more. When you're trying to make a break from a bad relationship, it's important to remember that you're not alone. God is on your side, and He wants you to get out safely. When a relationship starts to go bad, hope slowly dies. It's harder to see the good in life when all you can see is the bad. And it's even harder to find hope in a bad relationship when that relationship has been built on fear and mistrust. A good relationship, however, builds hope because it helps us see that we are not alone. In a good relationship, forgiveness is possible because we know that our partner is doing their best, and hope is allowed to bloom because we know that we am each other. Relationships are about more than love. They are about relationships and trust. When a relationship starts going bad, hope slowly dies. It's harder to see the good in life when all you can see is the bad. But when a good relationship starts to shine through, hope springs back to life once again, and optimism blankets everything in its light. Another reason why God is protecting you from a bad relationship is because a bad relationship keeps control over love between two people. A good relationship chooses to let go of control so that its members may learn how to be there for each other as they need one another rather than as needed by someone else. When love reigns supreme, decisions are not made by other people but by those who love one another equally, even though they don't always agree or see eye to eye or think alike on everything. Bad relationships control what love is between two people by dictating what is allowed and what is not allowed. They force two people to act a certain way in order to keep the relationship together, which removes love from the equation. Instead of choosing freedom and allowing the relationship to grow and change as both people do, bad relationships try to keep things exactly how they were before, backwards. Good relationships let go of the need for control in order to create a space for growth and learning. When love is allowed to reign supreme, both parties are happier because they can be themselves without worrying about whether or not their actions will upset the other. The freedom to be ourselves allows us to learn how to best support and care for each other, no matter how different our beliefs may be. A bad relationship is based on abuse and manipulation, lies told in an attempt to have one or both of the people in the relationship think that they are loved when they're not. A good relationships love each other as God loves us without condition or manipulation and allows freedom to flow again once love begins. When we enter into a relationship with someone, we inherently do so with the understanding that it will be imperfect. What makes a good relationship great is not a lack of weakness, but rather the strength of love and commitment to sacrifice their best for one another. God is constantly protecting us from a bad relationship by providing for our needs in other areas of our life. He may not always answer our prayers immediately, but He's always working on behalf of us. When we let go and rely on Him, He will deliver us from anything. Signs God uses to protect you from a bad relationship. In today's society, relationships are often considered to be the cornerstone of everything. It can be difficult to imagine life without them. However, this doesn't mean that all relationships are good or that they will last forever. In fact, a lot of times the relationships we think are great turn out to be bad for us. This is particularly true when it comes to romantic relationships. Sometimes things just don't work out and people end up getting hurt. This isn't always the fault of either party involved, though. Sometimes it can be due to external factors that neither person can control. However, even in difficult situations, God is still working to protect you. He knows what is best for you, and He will never let anything bad happen to you unless it is His own will. God uses different signs to remind us that He is protecting us from a bad relationship. He may give us a warning before a problem becomes a disaster, or He may give us the strength to end a bad relationship before it gets too serious. Here are 5 signs that God is protecting you from a bad relationship. Number 1, you notice warning signs. If there are warning signs that something is going wrong, it's probably best to heed them and end the relationship before it escalates. Pay attention to your body. If you're constantly sick or having nightmares, it's time to reconsider continuing the relationship. Also, think about the things your partner says and does that bother you. If they repeatedly talk about breaking up or behaving in ways that make you feel uncomfortable, it's probably time to end things. Number 2, you don't feel safe in the relationship. If you're constantly feeling unsafe or like you don't have any control in the relationship, it's probably time to end things before they get too serious. If your partner regularly hits you or speaks harshly to you, it doesn't feel safe to stay in a relationship. Don't put up with bad behavior for long. It can be hard to avoid a bad relationship, but God is always working behind the scenes to keep you safe. If you don't feel ready for a serious relationship yet, it's a sign that God is protecting you. Also, if you start to change your behavior in order to get away from this person, then the relationship is not good for you. If things between you and this person start to become negative and destructive, it may be time to walk away. If you find yourself spending more and more time away from this person, trying to rebuild your life elsewhere, then you are not meant to be together. Finally, if you suddenly realize that you're not happy with this person, and that they're not happy with you either, it is a sign that God is protecting you from a bad relationship. May God help you in Jesus' name. Amen. They will regret breaking up with you. Let them go and move on. It's official, you and your ex are broken up. While it may not have been your choice, it's time to move on. But before you do, there are a few things you should know. Your ex will definitely regret breaking up with you. It may not happen right away, but eventually they will realize what they lost. And when they do, they will be kicking themselves for letting you go. So don't waste your time waiting around for them to come back to their senses. Let them go and move on with your life. They made their choice, and now it's time for you to make yours. It's only natural to feel upset and even angry when your significant other breaks up with you. However, it's important to remember that in the grand scheme of things, this person is not worth your time and energy. Here are 4 reasons why you should let them go and move on. Number 1, they don't deserve your love. If they can't appreciate and respect you, then they don't deserve your love. Don't give them the satisfaction of knowing that they broke your heart. Instead, let them go and move on. They don't deserve your love if they can't appreciate and respect you. Find someone who will cherish you and treat you the way you deserve to be treated. You're better off without them. This video is about how you shouldn't waste your time on someone who doesn't deserve it. If they can't appreciate and respect you, then they're not worth your time and energy. It's been said that when someone breaks up with you, they're really breaking up with themselves. And while that may be true to some extent, it still doesn't make the process any less painful. When you've been dumped, it's easy to feel like you were the one who did something wrong. But the truth is, if someone can't appreciate and respect you for who you are, then they're not worth your time and energy. So don't let them drag you down. Let them go and move on. They'll regret it in the end, trust me. Number 2, you're better off without them. This person has likely caused you more pain than happiness. It's time to cut them out of your life and focus on your own happiness. You're probably feeling a range of emotions right now: anger, sadness, relief, etc. It's perfectly normal to feel all of these things and more after a breakup. You may even be feeling a bit confused about what to do next. But one thing you shouldn't do is try to get back together with this person. They're clearly not good for you, and breaking up with them was the right thing to do. If you try to get back together, you're just setting yourself up for more pain. So how do you move on? Well, it takes time and there's no one-size-fits-all answer. But there are some things that can help. First, give yourself time to grieve and process what's happened. This means giving yourself permission to feel all the emotions you're feeling. Second, reach out to your friends and family for support. They'll be there for you when you need them. Third, take care of yourself, both physically and emotionally. Eating well, exercising, and getting enough sleep will help your body heal. And also, don't forget to be gentle with yourself. You're going through a tough time and you deserve all the compassion and understanding you can get. Number 3, another reason why you should let them go and move on is because there are plenty of other fish in the sea. Don't waste your time pining over someone who doesn't want you. There are plenty of other people out there who would be thrilled to be in a relationship with you. So, you've been dumped. It hurts, we know, but don't dwell on it for too long. There are plenty of other people out there who would love to be in a relationship with you. So dust yourself off and get back out there. The world is your oyster. Don't waste your time pining over someone who doesn't want you. Let them go and move on. Number 4, life is too short to be unhappy. Why waste any more time being miserable when you could be enjoying your life? Let go of this person and move on to better things. You don't meet someone who doesn't want to be with you. You deserve better than that. So let them go and don't look back. If you're watching this, then it's likely that you've recently been through a breakup. I'm sorry to hear that, but believe me when I say that it's for the best. This person is not worth your time and energy. Let them go and move on with your life. I know it hurts now. You may even feel like you'll never find anyone else. But trust me, there are plenty of other fish in the sea. Just because this one didn't work out doesn't mean that there isn't someone out there who will be perfect for you. So take some time to heal. Cry if you need to. But eventually, pick yourself up and move on. So why is it important to move on? The most important thing you can do after a breakup is to move on. It's important to move on for several reasons. First, it's important to move on because dwelling on the past will only make you feel worse. It's natural to want to wallow in your misery and think about what could have been, but it's not productive, and it will only make you feel worse. Second, it's important to move on because it will show your ex that you are strong and capable of moving on without them. If you can show them that you are doing just fine without them, it will make them realize what they lost and hopefully make them regret their decision to break up with you. Finally, it's important to move on because it's the best thing for you. Holding on to anger and resentment will only poison your own happiness. So let go of the past and focus on the future. You will be much happier if you do. It is said that time heals all wounds, but when you are going through a difficult breakup, it can feel like time is standing still. The heartache and pain can be all-consuming, making it hard to imagine ever feeling better. But you will. Acknowledge your feelings. It is important to allow yourself to grieve the loss of the relationship. Don't try to bottle up your emotions or tell yourself to just get over it. Allow yourself to feel the pain, anger, sadness, and whatever other emotions come up. Cry if you need to. Write in a journal. Do whatever you need to do to process your feelings. Also, reach out for support. Talk to a trusted friend or family member about what you're going through. Sometimes just talking about your hurt can help start the healing process. If you don't have anyone you feel comfortable talking to, consider seeing a therapist who can help you work through your emotions in a healthy way. And also important, don't forget to take care of yourself. When you're going through a tough time, it's easy to let self-care fall by the wayside. You will find someone else eventually, and they will give you everything you need. I know it's hard to let go of someone you care about, especially if you yourself are the one who was dumped. But in the end, it's always best to move on. If they left you, it's because they don't want to be with you, and that's their loss. There's someone out there for everyone, and eventually you'll find someone who wants to be with you just as much as you want to be with them. It will give you everything you need, and together you'll be happier than you ever could have been with your ex. Hallelujah.
Let go and move on. It's not your fault that the relationship failed. At some point in our lives, it is inevitable that we will end up in a relationship that didn't work out. Although at the time it doesn't feel like it, you are not alone and will meet people who understand what you are going through. Here in this video, I'm going to encourage you to stop with the blame game and to trust God for finding someone better for you. People often play the relationship blame game after a relationship fails. In this game, one person assumes all of the responsibility for the dissolution of the relationship, and the other person takes on all the blame. This doesn't have to be the case, however. The blaming game can actually do more harm than good. Here's why. First, it makes you feel like you're alone in your struggles. When your relationship fails, it's natural to feel alone and lost. To cope with this pain, it can be helpful to focus on your own mistakes. But if you constantly hear yourself being blamed for the breakup, it can feel even harder to move on. It's important to remember that you aren't alone in this experience. Many couples struggle with broken relationships, but blaming yourself only makes things worse. The truth is, there are many factors that led to the end of your relationship. You can't control everything that happened, but that doesn't mean you're responsible for the breakup. Blaming yourself won't make the pain go away. You need to understand that any pain you feel after a relationship ends is inevitable. Trying to cope by focusing on your own mistakes only makes this pain worse. Instead, it's important to accept that your relationship didn't work out and move on. Secondly, the blame game will do you more harm than good as it cuts you off from potential help. When one partner assumes all the blame, they may end up shutting down completely when it comes to continuing their relationship journey. This can leave both parties feeling isolated and discouraged. If you want to try and fix your broken relationship, you'll need to open up to someone. Somebody who isn't going to put all the blame on you. If you're finding yourself trying to shoulder all the blame in your broken relationship, it's time to stop. It's not your fault, and shutting down won't help anything. In fact, it can do more harm than good because you'll be less likely to get help when you need it. Opening up to someone who isn't going to put all the blame on you is the best way to move forward. The blame game is a toxic way of coping with relationship failure. The best thing you can do for yourself is start by recognizing when the blame game is starting and working to change the dynamic. By recognizing that the blame game won't help you in your relationship, you'll be able to start moving forward. The blame game shuts down communication, and fear of rejection can prevent you from ever fixing your relationship. The key is to be open to trying new things and seeking outside help so that you can have a successful relationship again. Stop the blame game. It's not your fault that the relationship ended. Relationships can be a roller coaster ride, and they often don't work out because of different personalities or expectations. Blaming yourself for the failure of a relationship is only going to make things worse. Your emotions are going to be all over the place, and you're not going to be able to move on. There are some things that you can do to help prevent a failed relationship from ruining your life. First, try to understand why your partner might have ended the relationship. Sometimes their reasons are legitimate, and other times they're not. Then, focus on your own needs rather than expecting your partner to change overnight. Also, don't beat yourself up when the relationship ends. It wasn't your fault, and there's no need to suffer in silence. We've all been there. Our significant other breaks up with us, and we're filled with emotion. We want to know why it happened, who did what wrong, and what could have been done to save the relationship. And although it may seem like the most logical thing to do, it's actually not your fault when the relationship doesn't work out. You must understand that relationships are complicated. No two people are ever going to be exactly the same, so expecting them to be is asking a lot. If you can learn to accept that things will never be perfect between you two, you can move on with your life without feeling like you were somehow sabotaged. So that's why blaming yourself only makes you feel worse. It takes away your peace and pours guilt onto yourself instead of taking any action towards fixing the problem. Letting go of the blame only means that you can focus on healing yourself and moving on. Don't worry, God will help you. Stop the blame game. It's not your fault when the relationship didn't work out. You did everything that you could, and there were just some things that you couldn't control. Now it's time to move on. When you're struggling with the process of letting go of a relationship that didn't work out, it can feel like every ounce of energy is just focused on holding on to what isn't working. You might convince yourself that it was your fault, or that there was something inherently wrong with your partner. But the truth is, these types of breakups happen for a reason, and blaming yourself won't make anything better. In fact, it could make things a lot worse. Let go and move on. It's not your fault that the relationship failed. It can be incredibly hard to let go of a relationship that's gone wrong. You may feel like it's your fault, even if you know it's not. There is no shame in admitting that a relationship isn't working and that you need to move on. In fact, letting go is often the best way to heal from a failed relationship and find happiness again. If you're feeling like it's your fault that your relationship failed, take a step back and look at the big picture. The fact is, sometimes relationships just don't work out. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you did anything wrong. It simply means that two people are incompatible and aren't compatible in general. Sometimes the end comes suddenly, other times it builds over time until it explodes into something toxic. No matter what happened, there's no point in dwelling on the past. Now is the time to move on and start fresh. Here are 5 tips to help you do just that. Number 1, talk to someone who will listen. Whether it's a friend, family member, or therapist, talking about your feelings will help calm and help you contextualize the situation. Talking through your thoughts and feelings can also help you work out why things ended and what you can do moving forward. Number 2, allow yourself time to grieve. It may be hard to get past the heartache of a breakup, but it's important to allow yourself time to process the loss. Crying onto your pillow for hours on end won't do anything but make things harder. Take it easy on yourself and give yourself time to heal emotionally. Number 3, believe that you deserve better and start looking for the option. One of the hardest parts about a broken heart is believing that you are not entitled to feeling good again after you've been through so much. Yet it's important to find someone who will love you and make you feel what you need. You may have burned a few bridges from this experience, but this is a necessary step if you want to move forward into a plentiful and happy future. Take time now to have some self-care and seek out help when necessary so that when your new boy or girlfriend comes along, they won't have to go through all of the gutting you had to endure before them. Number 4, let go of guilt. If you're feeling guilty about why your relationship ended, think about how ridiculous that is. Relationships don't work out for a variety of reasons, and nobody is at fault, except for the couple themselves if they can't see past their own petty differences. If you're feeling guilty, it will only make things harder and prolong the grieving process. Stay blessed.